I call this meeting to order. Hello, everybody. Live stream is in? Yes. Okay. We need to do roll call. Yes. Deborah Holton here. Sonia Pepia here. Jen Chamberlain here. Sarah Smith here. Tim Rourke. He's here. Yes. Morgan Donaldson here. Greg Miller. Here. Alan Ayers. Here. Nick Lanza. Here. Kathleen Connery. Here. Arthur Christensen. Julie Martin. All right. We have an opportunity for the public to speak. Anybody from the public who would like to say anything to us tonight? I don't think so. So we'll move on. And there's an opportunity at the end of the meeting for that to also happen if anybody comes in who'd like to say anything to us. All right. Committee reports, starting with personnel.
Personnel did not meet, but we do need to make a meeting date for this month.
Policy.
Policy has a meeting on 29th. Yeah.
It's 5:30. Finance.
Finance did meet prior to this meeting. So several things. In the board packet tonight, you received the financial statements for fiscal year 24-25. Amanda reviewed that with us at the subcommittee meeting. There's nothing really to report other than we had a good financial, review, good financial statement, and the auditor's letter is, you should have gotten that as well with the actual report. The audit results 2025, we just received this, circulated now, so this might be helpful to people. I did not look at this and I mixed this together, so.
Which is her slides.
Yeah.
Yeah, that helps to explain the thing. It basically makes it digestible.
Right.
But you're welcome to read the entire audit report.
So there's a couple of motions on the table tonight, and one is for the board to receive the full report. The second motion was you're receiving the quarterly financial statements dated 9/30/2025. So there's a motion for receiving those as well. Again, there's nothing really out of the ordinary to report at this particular point in time. We also had a memo for salary transfers, and that we did recommend that we approve these, and recommending that the finance committee is recommending that they be approved by the board. It's costing, the transfers have not caused any changes in the budget whatsoever. So it's just, these are transfers because of people getting hired at either lower wages because somebody vacated a position, or in certain instances, somebody might have received a higher wage. So it's just the rebalancing of the teachers and other salary budget line item. Any questions there? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, could we just get copies of Amanda's presentation? I don't think we cited the table.
Oh, did other people get these?
This is what you need.
Yeah,
Okay.
we just didn't get it on this one.
Yeah, here, let's pass this around.
No, it's the financial.
Oh, that is stuff. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Here's, how many more do you need?
All of us.
Fourth.
I think.
Oh, okay, there's two more. I don't.
Thank you.
No, we have to add it. Yeah, so we have to add it. The approval of the, salary transfers is not on the agenda, so we have to add it. Yeah. All right, we can do it tonight. And then we had a discussion about the rolling with the, in regards to the meeting that the rolling average subcommittee had. So we'll talk about that later.
Thank you. Curriculum committee.
Curriculum committee didn't meet, but we have a meeting this Thursday at 4. Is it here? Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Is it here, Sharon? Yes. Yes. Okay.
Committee.
Building did meet. prior to this meeting tonight. Key topics, ongoing long-term site for our STAR program. Depot somewhat attached to that. We've been trying to escalate our efforts in that area. Few of us met with Mansfield Town management just prior to the holidays to compare notes and look at some options there. And right now, and really to kind of pursue what seems to be our best path, which is the rear portion of the property where Annie Benton School is located, where STAR program is in its interim location. That building, it's not going to be supported in the long term. And so the town has some ideas for additional use for the space. And so this school is probably going away. We do have commitment for another full school year for that program there, though there may be a need for an interim location for the STAR program if their activities go forward as potentially planned. So we'll have to talk about some options there as well, but that rear portion of that is right now one of a favorable site, and we're having ongoing discussions. We have some due diligence to do, obviously, on zoning and utilities and such. So that's promising from that perspective for that program in the long term. Got to work out what that might look like from a budget perspective and more early stages of that, so we can bring up some sort of conceptual scale to the board for consideration. We talked about the news. I don't think you had shared that with the board grant that we received. Has that been shared?
I think we talked about it. I know we've talked about it a few times.
Did we? Okay, so I don't either way. 2023 supplemental school security grant was awarded. A lot of already incurred costs, so covered. So that was good news. Some corrections to the reimbursement rate, but looking at that, HVAC, local maintenance continues to make progress, and Dennis couldn't join us, so we'll have to tee up our progress or plans for going after larger items here in our next meeting.
The big grant.
Yes, yeah, 1.9.
That we're going to.
Yeah, I think you mentioned it in the superintendent's report. That's
No, it wasn't.
Yeah,
All right,
1.9, yeah.
Are any questions for Tim? Building committee is working on a lot of stuff. So it's everything is still just being investigated at this point, but hopefully we're going to pull some things together and be more concrete for the next few meetings. We are on a timeline to make sure we have a home for our program. We're motivated. All right, EDJ?
EDJ did not meet, but we should send a meeting out to you, Sharon, because I have some time out at the end of this month. We are out of town, but we can talk about maybe early beginning of February. Yeah.
All right. Student report. Yasmin?
Yeah, yes, being on the support. I want to start off with Operation Smile. Operation Smile meets like a couple times a month. It's a club that fundraises through toys and money for cleft surgery. If you guys don't know what cleft is like a birth defect. They get like a gap in the upper lip or like the roof of the mouth. So we want to focus on providing for those who need additional surgeries. And I think it's led by 3 seniors and the librarian is Larkin. In December, we had a Gansett fundraiser. We raised around $250. So that was pretty successful. We also got together and made a bunch of like baby bibs and ornaments and cards before winter break, and a lot of people attended. And we also had a toy drive and hygiene drive. I'm also a part of PNH, Peer Natural Helpers, which is a group of diverse students that are trained in QPR, which is suicide prevention. And basically, we're focusing on creating a video for freshman recruitment. So a bunch of PNH members are making a video explaining what PNH is, what we do for the student body. And I remember last year I joined, I didn't really know what it was. I just was like, it's good for college. But after that, I was like, it's pretty cool. We have retreats, which is how we get certified. I was also a part of the Explorers program last year. They're having it in February this year. It meets once or twice a week and then ends late May. Basically, it's like it targets careers in fire, EMS, public safety, dispatching, and police. It's a little physically demanding, but you do get credit, like academic credit. I think it counts as one elective credit, and you also get CPR and aid trained, and you get 2 off-campus trips. So that's coming up, and last but not least, I'm also part of MSA, Muslim Student Association. Basically, our agenda is that we're talking about having more halal food options in the cafeteria, more hot meals with meat, and we're trying to participate in the teach-in in March or April, where we like debunk myths. We explain the difference between culture and religion, because I know that a lot of times it gets mixed up. And as a student, I do attend, there's this thing called Jummah prayer on Fridays. It happens like the last period of like G period. And I get early release because I have study hall that period, but I know that a lot of Muslim students don't have that period open. They have other classes. And we're trying to get a way to get them to be able to leave and go to prayer without any academic penalty. In February, the evening of the 17th, we have Ramadan coming up as well, which is basically a month of fasting from sunrise to sunset. And it does, like, we have school during those days as well. So we want to have more people aware of that, make sure that we have a safe place for Muslims to feel safe to go to during lunch, like, for example, the library. And right after that, we have Eid al-Fitr, which is like a celebration at the end of Ramadan. We usually have 2 big holidays during the year, and one of them is during the school year. And we are really trying to get an excused absence, because I don't think they give like excused absences for that holiday. So we wanted to look into that. And just because like we just had the Christmas, we had like a week or 2 off for Christmas and New Year's, so I think one day should not be a problem. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so kind of bouncing off that, I wanted to cover some of the student councils for each grade. The freshman student council had a movie night, which was ultimately a success. Around 50 people attended, and a little under $200 was raised. And then some of their future plans consist of including fundraising with Munson's. Then the sophomores student council, they have plans for fundraising in order to follow up with prom and senior outings. And some of their ideas consist of basket filled with goods and entered for a raffle if dues are paid. And then for the juniors and seniors, we're on talks of having a pep rally, a school-wide pep rally, which we would need more support. This will be planned on March 12th, this year, of course. And the Equity Council and the student government are planning on meeting on Thursday, January 8th, as well to kind of talk about it more. And then with Ms. Cornelius' superintendent student council, we're also waiting for to hear back from a proposal for the NEASC that we participated in last year. And then I also just wanted to give a personal thank you to all the teachers that have helped all the seniors out. I've heard great things from each senior and all the support that we've gotten in order to not only get letters of recommendation, but also get like overall support in order to push us to our limits in a good way and help us always, stay on the highest level of academic performance that we have. So.
Thank you, Fabio. Any questions for the students?
Yeah, I just wanted to find out what is the teach-in, is there a time scheduled for that right now?
I'm not sure. I just know it's scheduled for either March or April.
March or April? Thank you.
All right, superintendent report is next on the agenda. Okay. Everybody on the board should have received the entire packet as an email attachment. Anybody who had trouble with that? All right.
Okay, so a lot of similar meetings between now and probably April. The bulk of time is going to really be, it's redundant. It's budget, and then more budget. So there was a lot of time spent this month in meetings with directors and department heads talking about their proposed budgets, their budget narratives, spending some time myself over vacation, reading through budget narratives and taking a look at some of their proposals. And we did hear back from the competitive school security grant folks where they did adjust our reimbursement rate. There was an error. They did initially assign us Mansfields. This happens all the time, whether it's our mail going to the Mansfield superintendent or the mail coming to us. It happens a lot. They did assign us Mansfield's reimbursement rate, which is a little bit lower than the region. So they are making that adjustment. We just got that information actually hot off the press at about 4:30 this afternoon. They're going to have to make another minor adjustment because they did make the percentage change, but they didn't do the math. So the numbers don't quite match the percentage yet. So I am in touch with them to make those changes. We'll be hearing a little bit more about and actually we just heard a little bit about the rolling average meetings. We had some conversations about that. Lots of meetings about the STAR program and its future, and just conversations with folks about getting our ducks in a row about how to make sure that we're prepared for any of the changes that would be happening as a result of those decisions. I had sent out the music department's performance at Jorgensen for anyone who was able to attend or who was able to actually see the high quality video that they gave to us. It was an absolutely amazing performance and it's the first of many to come. So we're really excited and very grateful to the foundation for supporting our first year there. So that's something that we're going to continue to do. It was amazing. It is our school performances, our students and our teachers. I can't say enough about the level of performance of our students. Absolutely amazing, and kudos to our instructors for the support that they give our kids and the talent that they're able to foster in the students. We did have our municipal budget meeting that was held on December 15th via Zoom. It seems like it was forever ago yeah, from where we are right now. And then we also did have a meeting with Mansfield town officials, with Deborah and with Tim to discuss the future of the school. So again, a lot of work done by a lot of folks right now with the budget. And so again, meetings with Amanda Backus. She is probably getting really sick of me. We met yesterday, we're meeting again tomorrow, and I think we talked probably 3 or 4 times today. So we're just in full swing on budget right now. And that's about it. Any questions for Sharon? All right, we'll move into the consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda that should be removed?
I would like to read the minutes of the December 2nd meeting from the consent agenda.
And we'll wrap around and revisit those after we've done the consent agenda.
Right. And I don't know if we mentioned that we also,
Oh, yeah.
we also, we won't put it on the consent agenda, but there was a motion
Coming out of finance.
coming out of finance that
Right,
was that we recommend that the board approve the salary, the salary transfer. So we're gonna pick that up under new business.
Okay.
So that's a separate motion.
All right, and looking at the consent agenda, yes, Nick?
Yeah, can you remove the Costa Rica trip?
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, anything else? That being said, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda with the remaining items? Nick moves. Sharon? Sharon. Janice seconds. All right, any discussion? All those in favor?
Can I just ask?
Oh.
So, were the minutes, what happened with the minutes from last week's meeting or last month's meeting?
They should be in the packet,
Okay,
somewhere in the packet.
Yeah,
like the
they're in
minutes
the
are in.
okay, I just, yeah,
Yeah,
but they were not removed from the consent agenda.
yeah, we took those
Oh,
off.
you did? Okay.
Yeah, because Tony just wants to adjust something.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
We like the minutes to reflect what actually happened. Sometimes we miss something and somebody remembers it, Tony remembers something that we want to add to it. So we can't have that on the consent agendas. All right, any further discussion? All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstentions? All right, the consent agenda with its adjustments is approved. So let's move into the item that you're,
Yes, the reason I pulled the minutes off the consent agenda is I just wanted to clarify the fact, as you know, when we started that meeting, I was presiding over the meeting as the vice chair until we completed the officer elections, at which point the new officers were succeeded and Deborah Holgren as the new chair took over the balance of the meeting, and that's not reflected in the minutes. And so I'm proposing two changes to reflect that so that it's clear that I was only acting at the very beginning of the meeting. So what I was going to propose is that in the first 5 minutes here, where it says the meeting was, the first statement, the meeting was called to order at 7:05 p.m. I was going to add the words by Tony Peticchio, vice chair, and presiding officer right there. I'd give you this language. So that would be the first change. And then the second change, and then we proceed down through the election of the officers. And then right before, immediately before the heading of committee reports, I wanted to add the following sentence as a separate paragraph, which would read, following the election of officers, the new officers were seated. Deborah Holgren, as newly elected board chair, presided over the balance of the meeting. So,
that makes sense. Just to clarify how that happened.
So you're moving
to accept those.
with those.
To edit the minutes.
I'll second that.
All right, seconded by Jim. Tony made the motion to make those changes, seconded by Jim. Any further conversation about that? All those in favor of the edited minutes, signify by saying aye. Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? You abstaining? Morgan is abstaining. Was it? Yeah, Mark is abstaining. Yeah, so that's a good point. So if you, something like this happens and you weren't here during whatever it is we're discussing, then abstaining from voting is very appropriate.
And further on that, if there's only one piece of the consent agenda that you need to abstain from, you can request it if you pulled out, so you don't have to abstain from the whole consent
Right.
agenda. Correct?
That's true. You
Yes.
can do that.
That's why I asked the question.
Yes.
Yeah, you can do that, right? All right, and the next,
We can do that now.
oh, yeah, we could do it now.
Yeah, so originally, it was intended to have the salary transfers included on the consent agenda. They're in your packet. So the motion would be, I have it here.
I wanted to pull the Costa Rica trip. We
Oh, we
discussed
can
that.
do that first.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Thank you. So the dates mentioned, there's two different dates. And I think the reasoning was because they were waiting on the school calendar. So with the school calendar we just approved, is there a way we can narrow it down to one set of dates? No.
No, not yet.
So is there a timeline as to when they need to make a determination on those dates?
They are working on it. The teacher that is responsible, I think it's Mr. Borquin. He, as soon as the calendar is approved, he's going to reach out to the company that they're working with
Okay.
to hone in on the date, because we're also taking students in
Yep.
in January, I think. So
Okay.
we're trying to
So
balance.
they're waiting on the company.
Exactly.
Gotcha. I didn't know if it was our end or their end.
Yeah, they just want approval first, okay?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, so then can someone make a motion to approve that trip? Nick's making that motion to approve. Sarah's seconding. Any further discussion? It's a great trip. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, Costa Rica. I never get to chaperone anything. Can I go on this trip? That'd be great.
So we just
All right, yeah.
we're going to table a motion on the approval of the salary transfers to the consent agenda till the next meeting.
Yeah, and moving it to the next meeting so that we've got our ducks in a row, doesn't affect anything. Yeah. All right, so you can, yeah. All right, let's just see where we are next. Okay,
So
all right, good. So, now then do we, under new business?
We
So-
need to go.
Oh, is that on them? When do you have a special report now?
Yes, special report now.
Okay, all right. Special report.
Is that me?
I'll send it.
Yeah.
That's you.
Feeling special?
Hey, everyone. Nice to see everyone again.
Dan or
New
not?
faces, right? Julie. All right. So I'm Dan Uriano, I'm the athletic director for Region 19, US Smith High School. I have, So I thought I would just share some information that about the fall success, and then just go into some other successes I think that the athletic department demonstrates. And then I'm going to talk quite a bit about the summer, because that has budgetary implications that the board will need to consider. So I'm going to give you the good, the bad. Well, there's a lot of bad, but I'll give you all of the information objectively without opinion, so the board can make a decision on what they want to do with that. I mean, I have my opinions, but I'll reserve it now. So I'll just, as Brady's getting that set up, a couple of highlights from the fall season. Our boys cross country is just, they've been on a run for a couple of years. They're dominant. They've been runner-up twice in the state championship. This year they were third in the class double M. They went on to finish fourth in the state open, and then they went on to finish sixth in all of New England. And those particular boys are having an unbelievable start to the indoor track season. So probably definitely our most successful program this past fall. Our football team lost year after year after year to Towland, but for the third consecutive year, we've been able to best Towland in the Thanksgiving rivalry game. So that was really good news. Girls soccer made it to the second round of the state tournament, and the game went in. Our team was a low seed. We played a really high seed. It went into double overtime, and we lost in penalty kicks. So super exciting game. Devastating for the girls. They fought hard. It was a fun game to watch, but we wish we won. The boys barely made the tournament. They had to do the boys soccer team barely made the tournament. They had to play in a play-in game to get into the tournament. They were a 32 seed that had to play the number 1 seed undefeated East Lyme, and they almost beat them. It was a 1-0 game. It was I was at the girls' game, at one of the girls' games at the time, but I just heard it was an awesome game to watch. And our boys' team is young. They're the team in the fall to probably watch next year, I would say. And our field hockey team, Coach Reagan Rowley, English teacher here, is just doing an outstanding job. For the second time in 10 years and second consecutive year, they've made the state tournament. They played both years. Last fall and this fall, we were a 32 seed, having to play number 1 Brantford, and our girls never gave up, and it was a much closer game than the score actually looked. And the two teams are developing a really bond relationship with one another, so much as they might do some combined practices in August, so that we can learn, like, you know, why Brantford is so successful. Okay, so moving on to the next page in your packet, or maybe slide 3, page 3 in your packet. This is a list of our 19 all-conference athletes. I'm not going to read the names. That's right. You have them here, but we had 3 all-state athletes and 19 all-conference athletes. Again, you can see a number of those athletes are through the boys cross-country program. So before I turn to the next slide, I just want to express how important athletics are to the development and the success. What's going on here?
Great.
So I'm just where I was is just how successful kids can become through the lessons they learn in athletics. So in the next slide, just to give you a little bit of information about EO Smith specifically, but the trend does continue in a lot of our surrounding schools. Our 10th graders, if we look at weighted GPA, the top 10 students by class rank, 9 of the 10 are athletes. If we look at the top 20, 18 or 90% are athletes. Okay, in 11th grade, it's 8 out of 10, and then it moves up to 90% again for the top 20 by weighted class rank. And in 12th grade, it's 70% of the top 10 and 75% of the top 20. And I think COVID had something to do with that and why that number is slightly lower with none of the athletic offerings those kids had in the formative years of middle school. We don't technically recognize valedictorian, salutatorian in our school. Every single number 1 person in the data I'm allowed to look at through weighted GPA, every one of them has been an athlete or is currently an athlete. And I have 7 in your packet. It says 7. Sorry. It says 7, but it's just a 7 here. Sorry. 6 out of 6 of our 2025 graduates that attended Ivy League schools, Princeton, Yale, and Brown, all of them were multi-season athletes. Okay, so I think it's just important to realize that successful people usually have a well-rounded balance of performing arts, athletics, and academic achievement. And that we're going to get to the equity piece a little bit later when we talk about some and what athletics can do to drive kids into better academic achievement. Does anyone have any questions so far about any of that information? Okay, so last summer we piloted a full, yeah.
What percentage of these classes overall are athletes? So if there's 90% of the top 20, but how?
We have, so in a given year, we have a little bit over 500 rostered people, but some of those 500 might be one person counting 3 times because they're an athlete in the fall, winter, and spring. So we're usually around a third of our population are athletes. And of that third of our population that are athletes, more than 75% are on honor roll or high honor roll. Did that answer your question?
Thanks, yeah.
So we piloted last summer a full-blown, the CIAC changed their rules. CIAC is our governing body for athletics in Connecticut. And they said coaches can now coach out of season twice a week for up to 2 hours. All sports, and this was a new concept. So there was funding set aside to pilot a program last year. And what we did is we set up a schedule that was 4 nights a week from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. every night throughout the whole summer. 2 hours of practice twice a week for each athlete. Okay, so it was highly structured so that kids didn't have to choose one sport over another. Girls basketball, who also played girls soccer, or field hockey or lacrosse, those times were staggered. So if they wanted, they could do all 3 of them. I sent out surveys to parents, to students, to parents and students and coaches who participated in the summer programming. And so I'm going to report out the executive summaries for each of those groups and some of the takeaways, and then also some of the aftermath that is more anecdotal, but things that came up in the fall that may be causational or correlational to the summer programming. So I'm going to give it all to you for your consideration. Overwhelmingly, tremendous support from the community. That's the overwhelming sentiment, excuse me. And there was high engagement. It was predominantly led by the fall sports. That was our highest level of participation. It was a 5-point scale for all the questions, with strongly agree at a 5 and strongly disagree at a 1. So the student value rating was 4.56 on average. And the coaches, 2 coaches in particular, felt that this was a real leveler when it came to equity and encouragement for kids in athletics. So this is who responded to the survey. Mostly it was folks that were there for fall sports. So followed by winter and then spring and then multi-sport athletes. These are the respondents that I'm giving you the information from. It's not the whole school community. Bless you. This is the daily, we took attendance every single day so we could track which programs kids were attending. And you'll see overwhelmingly it was boys and girls soccer. I think some of the football, I don't know that the football number is totally accurate because I was here every night observing, and they had to fill out a QR code to do attendance, but when football was practicing, they always had high numbers. In fact, a lot of the kids for boys basketball, which is our next highest number, were also there for football. That was the same night. They would go back to back. So these are the people that are responding to the survey. This is a breakdown of which town and which grades. You'll see that the grade level of the student athletes that attended, it's pretty evenly distributed, with the highest proportion of was 9th graders excited to come to EO. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. The towns of 60% came from either Mansfield or Columbia. I don't, off the top of my head, I don't know the breakdown of our student population out of the 1,100 or so students. So that might be an accurate representation proportionally. I'm not sure about that. So the student athletes basically felt they enjoyed it. They rated it high. It was valuable. They felt like it prepared them for readiness. It improved their development in their respective sports. The students reported that they felt relatively safe and healthy, and that what's not in the slide is we had a medical person here every night. We had an athletic trainer for the athletes, and the survey data indicated that we were very prepared if something came up, whether it was heat, whether it was an injury. There was a general feeling of mental tiredness reported by some athletes. Especially, I think, some of our kids that aren't used to playing multiple sports year round. And there was we did everything at night. The athletes, some of them wanted morning, some for work schedules, some of them wanted night. The reason we went with night is because from an equity lens, we felt that was the best opportunity for the maximum amount of kids to get transportation here for the opportunity we were providing. So there was a reason behind doing it at night or in the evenings. The parents, generally speaking, were highly supportive and feel like this is a valuable use of funding. The biggest theme throughout the entire survey was what it did for our incoming ninth graders, connecting them with the community, connecting them with athletics, connecting them with peers. And that was throughout the survey. That was parents, that was students, that was coaches. That's probably the biggest benefit of what we did over the summer. There was a report throughout the comments of the surveys. There is a feeling that there was a hidden pressure, that if I didn't come, that wouldn't be favorable for tryouts, or if I was there every day, I'll make varsity, or if I'm not there, the coach is going to take it out on me. These are perceptions, not realities necessarily, but there is, that was expressed throughout the survey data by parents. And some of the athletes reported that, and the coaches also acknowledged that they know some people might feel that way. The parents felt that the program was accessible, and another theme that comes up is transportation was brought up quite a bit. Okay, so which is a very big cost across multiple towns to consider later. Coaches, again, yes.
Quick question on the last slide. So for support and funding, that 4.29, is that out of the current funding or?
Well, the survey didn't indicate the $30,000 that it cost to run the program last year.
Okay.
And that was a bare bones budget.
Yep.
So the question was, you know, or the statement was, I feel like this was a valuable, I feel like this was a valuable use of school funding. This was meaningful.
Gotcha.
That summarization is a result of multiple questions merged together with an average rating of 4.25 across a couple of questions related to, is this meaningful, valuable, and can be funded?
Great, thank you.
Coaches, there are two coaches who are vehemently opposed to the summer program. One did not offer it, didn't want to be paid. We did not participate. And the other one did participate, does not think it's good for kids from his or her perspective. But overwhelmingly, other than those two, there was a tremendous amount of support. One coach in particular felt like he or she had a phenomenal opportunity to work with a small pocket of kids that can't afford or couldn't do private coaching and private training. So that gets to the leveler question, or the leveler statement under the socioeconomic equity. There were some coaches that believed that this was a nice equalizer for kids that can't afford outside coaching or some of those expensive clubs. We paid head coaches. Yep.
Sorry. For the coach that did participate but didn't feel it was really worth it for them, does that correlate at all to lower attendance for their sport?
No.
Okay.
No, actually, that was one of the sports that had one of the higher participation rates.
Interesting. Okay.
And the coaches belonged. The head coaches were each given a stipend of $1,000 with the expectation that they provided a minimum of 12 two-hour sessions. All of them did more than that, plus all of the planning into the practice planning and things like that. They felt that was adequate, but none, sports like football or track and field, where you really need multiple people. I mean, none of those assistant coaches were paid. I think the football coach took the $1,000 stipend and divided it amongst 6 or 7 people. He got a check and then he gave them each like a little bit of money. So something for consideration. There was, while our coaches love our athletes and while our coaches love the sports, there was a strong response that their personal time, they lost a lot of summer personal time. Coaches emphasized that, they didn't have, there's no penalty and they didn't have any sort of expectation for kids to come. They just wanted them to come if they wanted to. They wanted it lighthearted, but they also recognized, they know that some of the parents were reporting to them that their kid was telling me, I have to be there, I can't miss, I have to be there, I can't miss. I think that was most prevalent in basketball and soccer. No, I know that to be true. So we administer the survey, and then comes the fall. Just want to get to my notes here. So what did we see? We did see an increase in injury throughout the fall. And I actually have, this isn't the most updated slideshow. I'll give you the numbers in a minute because I have the data on that. We did see an uptick in interpersonal conflicts. Several of them started in the summer with some of our athletes in conflict with who the captains were going to be, who was taking seniorship, leadership roles. Parents got involved, parents talking. There was a phone call where some parents were talking about, why is this person leading the optional practices? And so there were, the summer began with a few conflicts with our some of our programs. Also, I'm going to use, I'm going to change the example, but this is a true example. I'm going to change the sport and the position. So we have this is not the sport, I'm changing it. We have 2 softball catchers. One is very, 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 very good, phenomenal arm, can throw anyone at second base. Decides not to come all summer. The other one is very, very good, slightly better hitter, decides to come all summer. Catcher 1 is slightly better. That parent said to me, my kid better not get penalized and they better start because they're the better catcher. Parent B said to me, my kid better start because they've been here all summer and showing their commitment and their work ethic. I had that conversation a lot this summer, a lot. So that comes into the tryout session with a whole different feel to it, particularly in sports that make cuts, volleyball, girls soccer, and boys soccer. So when I'm referring to interpersonal conflicts, that's what I'm referring to, those sorts of scenarios. We also had, as some of the board members know, a parent who wasn't satisfied with some elements of playing time and tryout and the rubric that was used for tryouts, and then sort of aggressively pursued the coach. And I think some of that started in the summer, which I don't want to get too much into it, but we had some conflict that seemed like it was coming out of the summer. The other piece was, while we provided a really nice complement of opportunity for our kids, a lot of them doubled and quadrupled the time they were doing sports. So I will give you an example. My son plays soccer for E.O. Smith. He is soccer. He loves it. He would go to the 2 2-hour sessions that were provided by the school. And then a parent was running a separate league with a preponderance of EO Smith kids. They were playing a couple times a week. So now our athletes were now going, instead of 2 times a week, they're going 4 times a week. And they love it. There's no doubt about it. But we had 3 sport athletes that were also doing that. So they were coming here, we had some girls that would come here for girls lacrosse for 2 hours. They would also do the girls soccer 2-hour session. They would also do the girls basketball 2-hour session. Then they were playing in a summer lacrosse league. They were playing in a summer soccer league and a summer basketball league. So that's a lot. That's a lot of driving for us parents too. But it's something to think about. Just to reiterate, this data is a lot of this information is coming from predominantly fall participants and the summer respondents who were there for fall students. So a couple things to consider. If the argument for continuing similarly or expanding it to what we did last summer, which means all sports, that is where coaches can give individualized work to athletes from an equity perspective. That is the most balanced. It provides year-round coaching, conditioning, and the coaches and athletes both felt very strongly that they wanted to see every single sport offered over the summer. There was also a pretty significant argument for only offering the fall options. And that really stems because if the goal is really about social transition, it's setting up the fall sports and helping the 9th graders transition in. So it's putting a different priority on the summer program. There are concerns about burnout for kids that are doing stuff year round. They think that maybe, you just kind of get ready for the fall, focus on just the fall, because that's the immediate season coming up. Maybe that'll help prevent some of the burnout. And then there's predominantly the buildings and grounds and the the people that have to do logistics behind the scenes, or they have to think about the budget, or prepare the budget or approve the budget. There was sentiment about, is this sustainable? Because prior to COVID, you could get 3 teams, 3 separate teams could get home and away uniforms for about $25,000. Now, 1 set of home tops only and 1 set of away tops only for football is about $16,000 to $18,000, which takes up a large portion of that budget. So something to be considered, because that the post-COVID and then other things that are happening in the economy right now, all of the goods have gotten very expensive. Uniforms and equipment, basketballs, things like that have just about tripled in the past 7 or so years. Then some of the final, or this almost final consideration. I'll come to injuries in a second. There were a lot of questions about family time, summer vacations. I know I drove back. I know several families drove back and moved vacations so their kids could participate in summer programming. Transportation, yes.
I'm sorry. Arthur is trying to get on. Sorry. Thank you very much. Sorry.
No, I didn't see that. Thank you.
Can't see for me.
Transportation. So the 2 things that came up the most were how great this was for 9th graders, but the district needs to look at transportation. Those 2 things came up a lot throughout the survey data. Something that didn't come up, but anyone who's been a teacher knows when you hit May and June, you are exhausted. And I, as the athletic director, have been working very hard at trying to hire in-house people in the building, teachers, because I believe they connect the best with kids. We've got a lot of teachers on staff, and there is an expectation that they feel like they need to provide the program, the head coaches. And so the question is more of a philosophical one. Are we asking too much of our teachers who are coaches? And that's not for me to say, but it is something that has come up. And obviously the budget invitations I just talked to. And the final thing, before I get to injuries, I will say is we are one of the very few schools in the CCC and in our region we do not have pay to play. And when we're thinking about equity and inclusion, that is humongous. And in my opinion and my advisement to the board, we would never want to give that up. So if funding a summer programming would jeopardize our pay to play structure, to me, the decision is clear, because what we offer to 350 or a third of our population on a year-round during the school year is far more instrumental to their potential academic success, which I was referencing before, than a summer program that we didn't have a ton of participation in. We had a lot of fall participation, but not the other students. So preservation of pay to play at all costs is there. I just want to say that out loud. Okay, getting back to injuries. I'm sorry, I'm jumping around. You do not have this slide, but I'm going to share two things. In the fall of 2023, we had knee injuries, 5 referrals to the doctor, 2 resulted in surgery. 5 and 2. In the fall of 24, we had 4 referrals to an orthopedic and 2 surgeries. In the fall of 25, we had 19 referrals and 8 surgeries on knees. Is it causational, correlational? I don't know. It's just the numbers. With shoulders, in 2023, we had 2 referrals and 2 surgeries. In the fall of 24, we had 3 referrals, no surgeries. And in the fall of 25, this past fall, we had 7 referrals and 2 surgeries. So in knee and shoulder injuries, we did see an uptick. Concussions went 14, then down to 8, and then back up to 15 this past fall. So that's more of an up and down. Those injuries predominantly were in the sports that had the most kids coming in the summer. It was football and it was soccer. So for board considerations, I did put money in the vision, and I did submit into the budget a rather large increase. Some of the increases are contractual. Some of them are a result of just the drastic increase in uniform and cost to equipment. But the summer programming as it stands right now is still in the budget. What I think is a consideration for the board, trying to be careful. I want to tell anyone what to do. If our goal is primarily about social transition, having our 9th graders feel welcome to come in, school readiness, then a focus on the fall sports only would be highly effective if we want to continue something. If our primarily goal is equity across, netting as many people as possible, skill development and performance with a heavy emphasis on performance, it suggests that we would want to continue or expand on the model that we had last summer. Transportation, again, is something that came up quite a bit, which is it's a large additional cost. If the primary goal is an emphasis on family time, summer jobs, recharging the batteries, it's a different conversation, I think. And if the primary goal is preserving pay to play at all costs, knowing that there may be budgetary constraints, then you have my advisement on which of those 2 I would choose or recommend. Yeah.
Couldn't there be something in between?
Those are general thoughts.
Yeah. So for example, fall sports could be more often during the summer because the sports start soon, whereas winter could be 1 time a week, or spring might just be, you know, the second half of the summer, something like that. So it's kind of graduated based on,
Yeah, so all of those, yes, that could work. You can't exceed 2 hours per week, twice a week.
yeah, so that would be the maximum.
That's the
And then you
maximum.
kind of graduate down from
Yep.
that.
So yes, we could build any sort of hybrid. The reality is most of the spring sports wouldn't want to do anything in June because they're just wrapping up their seasons. And really sports like softball, baseball, and lacrosse, they go right into their summer season. And they're playing. So a lot of our coaches, they can coach up to 6 kids on a club team or on a private travel team and have them 5 nights a week. So if they're, depending on what kind of coach you have, what their philosophy is, but they can't do both. They can't have 5 kids over here and do the 2 hours over here. It's the IC rules.
Question. Is there a way to schedule the kids to maybe prevent, some of the things like the shoulder injuries and so forth? I was thinking when you first came out with the fall sports, but that's not necessarily the best for all the kids. But would that in some way prevent kids from injuring themselves? Or is there a way you can say, look, you can only have so many hours a week?
Well, the kids and the parents who are very passionate and competitive
Get it?
and are all conference or looking to go to the next level and play Division 1, 2, or 3, you're not able to control what they're doing outside of the practice time. I can tell you, it was awesome at night here watching boys and girls soccer. There was a good vibe. It was not super challenging. It was not super physical, but coaches could work on different formations. The boys and girls were getting along great. For football, we don't have a middle school feeder program. They were mostly learning plays, but again, I don't know if there's a causation or even a correlation between the injuries, but the numbers did spike. So I don't know. I think it's important to at least look at that.
Thank you.
Yep.
So I guess I'm trying to also figure out, what composes the 2 hours for a particular sport and how much weight training is incorporated into those things rather than let's work on plays or running a drill because I think that there needs to be a balance. I mean, I'm thinking about your body and what your body needs. It needs variation. The repetitiveness. I mean, again, I understand too. There's no way I'm necessarily going to control my kid if he wants to play soccer, 10 hours a week, every day of the week, whatever. That's their issue. But it definitely, I struggle with this because I think that at a very young age, people are going to develop these injuries and then they're not going to be playing in Division 1, 2, or 3 sports. That's over.
So the way it was structured this summer is we had the athletic trainer in the weight room that was open to any athlete. They weren't scheduled by team from 4 to 5 every night for strength and conditioning. You can do.
So they weren't required if they're going to participate in these summer.
No, they weren't. None of them were required. And then some programs did their own separate. You can do, so per CIAC rules, if it's not skill-based, meaning a stick or ball, if it's only conditioning, then you can do unlimited. There's no regulation on it. So like the football kids would lift in the morning, then they would come to their evening session. But Coach Kelly also was only offering 1 session a week because he was worried that it was going to be too much. So he was limiting it. Our coaches are pretty good at limiting the overuse stuff. But a lot of them also want to control the kind of lifting the kids are doing, the kind of fitness the kids are doing. So like our girls soccer coach, she would do her own fitness sessions off-site with EO girls, but also community members who are welcome to come. Then they would come here and do their soccer skill-based stuff. Yep.
So I had a question about which sports, because I noticed that Crew wasn't here. And Crew, of course, has like kind of a fall season and
Our contract doesn't let us on.
Yeah.
Our
On the
contract
water.
does not let us on the lake in summer.
Too bad. And then the other question was like how you propose it. It felt to me like you also think it's a problem that people don't understand that it genuinely is optional. So like what kind of messaging would you shift going forward with that? Like how would you really convince parents? Because it is hard, I think, for kids and parents to kind of say, is it really optional?
Honestly,
Yeah.
you're not going to convince people on that. You won't. The messaging was clear. I mean, every communication I sent out, everything the coaches were saying it over and over again. No one was given a hard time if they went for a family vacation. And the scenario with the two catchers,
Wondering about
Right?
that. Yeah.
the one that wasn't there ended up, I shouldn't say that, but in the sport, it was a fall sport, and the person ended up getting the starting position eventually.
Because I'm also thinking about opportunity, not only for jobs, but the summer is a time when students can take advantage of opportunities that just aren't available for the rest of the year that really are important to their whole development.
Yeah, so that gets back to the question of equity also, right? So if we are trying our best to provide an equitable athletic experience, but if we've got any student, not just marginalized, any student at all that needs to do childcare for a sibling, that needs to get a job to help with things, are we promoting or stifling equity from their overall personality? You know, that's a question. I didn't have data questions on that, but that's a great point.
I just know as a parent of a couple of athletes driving around, that this transportation issue is not exclusive to the summer. So we don't provide any transportation during the season. So, I mean, I see how it's a problem, but.
So when sorry, I looked too fast. When we initially started having conversations about, okay, if we're gonna do this, what would it look like? How do we need to structure it? How is this gonna have implications on buildings and grounds? How is this gonna have indications on the nurse's office? I had we will do it 100% full bore. We won't offer it at all, and 4 different options in between with the cost analysis. And if we were to go all the way over to providing transportation, there were really 2 options. I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head. I think it was over $200,000 if we did busing included. If we didn't do busing, we used our school vans and I had an option where we paid people a stipend, and they would essentially be a shuttle using our school vans. It was still over 80 something. It was still like over $85,000, if I remember correctly.
Was that for the summer only or for the?
That was for the summer.
So I think what Alan was saying, I mean, obviously it was raised a lot of times, but I'm convinced, I'm certain it's an issue for during the regular school year season as well.
It is an issue. Do you want to continue talking summer? Or do you want me to get to that? I can speak a little bit about that.
I would like to have you speak a little bit about
Yeah.
that, because I view it as an equity issue across the whole.
It absolutely is, but it's not. I would venture to say it is not financially possible to offer buses. If you were to do it, there will be a lot of problems with it because we don't have robust facilities. So oftentimes I'm alternating practice times and accommodating so that girls basketball can have the gym on a Thursday because they want to be in the main gym on a Thursday, because on a Friday they have a game, so they might be 5 to 7. But then the next day it might be 4 to 6. So the scheduling piece, especially in the winter, becomes problematic. But a way to do it could be, I mean, we do have these wonderful resources that are school vans. So if you paid somebody a stipend per season, just like a coach, like let's say anywhere from probably $10,000 to $20,000, depending on the hours a week per season, you might be able to get it. You might be able to do it. And I think that 8 to 10 kids that could really benefit from that in a season, it would potentially be manageable, but we would really have to do a survey to see how many kids we're talking about before we could build a structure for how many stipends and how many drivers we would need.
Well, I mean, the other issue is that are there potential athletes who don't participate at all because they can't, because of transportation issues? And if you did provide transportation, it might not just be the 10 you're thinking about. It might turn into be 25 because people that otherwise wouldn't participate might.
So that it's my understanding that when Dr. DiLoretto sent out a survey a while back, it was predominantly the clubs that really needed the transportation. What we would need to do is probably pilot one driver, one season, see where we're at. And then, you might, I'm not sure how you want to budget it or the funding if possible, but my recommendation would be to try to use the school vans or purchase another small bus, because in the spring and in the fall, it's also problematic because our cross country and our golf coaches use those vans almost every single afternoon. So now those vans aren't accessible. Now you're talking about bus costs, and the athletic bus costs in the year, that's more than 20% of the $1 million athletic budget.
I mean, I guess I understand that. I mean, but it becomes sort of a systemic issue that, we're a big district. There are people that live half an hour, even farther away.
For sure.
And I struggle all the time with the question of whether are we excluding just by distance and not having transportation.
Yeah, especially so anecdotally or observationally, this past winter break alone, basketball kids know they have to be at practice. They find a way, they get there. Sports that are the most inclusive, crew, track and field, cross country, that don't have cuts, that have kids that have never tried sports before, but they want to be involved, they want to have success, they're looking for something to do. I would say there were probably at least a dozen, maybe a little bit less than a dozen track kids this past winter break that didn't come to practice because they didn't have a ride for morning practice. Doesn't happen in basketball, doesn't happen in volleyball. It's an issue in the football, with football, like in the summer. I know Coach Kelly has said there's kids that are carpooling, or sometimes coaches have had to give kids rides with the transportation waiver and things like that. So I'm agreeing. Yeah, it's an issue.
Sorry, so if we have like the 10 kids that don't have a ride, want to do sports, can't do it. And then we have, say, like however many kids who the parents are driving everywhere, it's not a problem. There's also going to be that middle where the parents are making it work, but really can't. Or when transportation is offered, needed, even though they haven't had an issue that we can see because they've been showing up to practice, but it's a super big hardship. I guess my worry is that it's a giant can of worms. I'm not saying necessarily that it shouldn't necessarily be talked about more. But if we offer transportation to these 10 kids that we identified, there's 20 more that really do need it. Mm-hmm. And where do we stop it?
Yeah.
It would have to be everybody.
Yeah. Nick and then Morgan.
Thank you. And then sort of off that point, the 85,000 estimate for the summer, is that just for transportation, or is that an increase of costs also beyond transportation?
No, it was
more. So
in each of the different models that I came up with, this was 18 months ago now, so I'm going to go off the top of my head. It included things that require rental fees, but we weren't paying the rental fees. We were only paying the coach stipend and organizing it. So the pool, for example, we spent about $25,000 in rental fees for the pool at Mansfield Community Center. So it was that 85,000 number included swimming, right? but not the rental fees for swimming.
So there would
That
be
cost would have been put on the kids.
for the summer?
Correct. So each athlete that was like the second.
So that would be pay to play for,
That would be for
for
the summer.
transportation.
It would be paid to play for the rental fees. In that model, and that to really do this, if you want to fund the ice time and you want to fund the pool and you want to pay assistant coaches and all that, it triple that it was like 185,000, or I was going to look, it was, and that was including transportation, and it's hard to guess where some of these things, because we don't know what the transportation routes would look like. I was basically guessing based on what we spend for transportation on buses throughout the athletic year.
So generally speaking, if there were transportation over the summer for that 85,000
There was no
estimation,
there was transportation.
transportation, but students would have to pay in order to play using transportation over the summer.
No,
So
no. So I'm not being clear. So let me be clear. In that 85,000 number, there was built in 2 stipends for drivers of our vans. So kids who were really in need or desperate, they could catch rides. It'd be kind of like a shuttle between 4 p.m. and 9 p.m. if we were able to do it across all these towns. The fee structure would come in for any sports where we would have to pay rental fees. Okay. Now we would still have, at the end of the day, crew's not going to have an option in the summer. The way our contract is with the lake. And honestly, we don't want our kids on that lake in the summer because we've already had boat accidents with drunk boaters and things like that. And it just wouldn't be safe.
All right, a lot of work to be done to explore the possibilities. But we'll wrap it up, and at some point in time, the board may want to pursue this in a way of getting more information. And I think Sharon is prepared to do that.
Can I just ask my question?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, go ahead.
So I wonder about the injuries and then about the weight training and the fitness. And I'm wondering whether the 2 a week actually substituted some of the time the students would have used, the players would have used in the gym, in the weight room, or out doing fitness. And that might explain the injuries. Do you have any data on that? Like,
There's no, and I don't think we could. I suppose maybe we could try to send a survey out, but the kids were all over the place. Like one of my other kids play soccer here at EO, and she would run 5 to 7 miles every single morning. And then she would go to the two soccer sessions. She'd go to some of the fitness sessions, and she'd play on the outside team coached by the parents. And she's an injury prone kid and didn't get injured. And then you've got other kids who are seemingly invincible who tore an ACL in the second scrimmage of the game.
Right.
Yeah.
So it doesn't seem like there's a pattern.
No pattern.
Yeah.
No, the one of our athletes that tore the ACL in the scrimmage is a very strong, very seasoned athlete, very good athlete, and it just happens.
Yeah. I just have one more comment.
Oh, Arthur has he's raised his hand.
Dan, do you have details on the knee injuries? Were they mostly out in the field?
I don't. Brielle probably has it. Two of the ACL tears. One of them happened in a summer league scrimmage. That was one of the parents coaching, not one of our EO Smith coaches coaching, and not during one of our games. Another one of the ACL tears was in a soccer scrimmage. That was an EO scrimmage. I don't know what the others. Another one was wrestling, actually, and that was in a takedown drill between 2 athletes. And I don't know what the other 5 were off the top of my head, Arthur.
Okay, because I just want to, if you, in the summer, you're practicing on the field in the back, right? For the most part.
Yeah, for the most part, when temperatures weren't 120 degrees on the turf. Soccer, field hockey, soccer and football were using the turf. Lacrosse was out in the grass in the back. And softball was out in the softball field.
All right, so I would just be interested in that information because you have to remember we just put in a brand new turf field. And going from a brand new turf field to a 10-year-old turf field is way different. There's way more grip on that new field. And that could explain a lot of your knee injuries because the athletes might not have been used to it. They may have been used to the way it was going, for the 3 prior years or 2 prior years when it was an older field. So I'd be very interested to find out where more detail on these ACL injuries and these knee injuries because they might be directly related to that new turf.
Yeah, this was that's a good point. This was our second season on the new turf. So in 2024, we played on the turf and we had 4 referrals and 2 surgeries. And I know one of those ACLs was on grass, for sure, one of the soccer ones.
Right. I'm not discounting the injuries that are going to happen, but I'm talking about the increase.
Yep.
All right, any other questions before we move on?
Just one real quick. Did we get this presentation as part of our package, the athletic one?
It was actually.
Nice to have some color.
This is in colors. You
Yeah.
can't tell,
Which
can't have
towns?
data correlation.
All right.
Did we get it as an electronic?
Today.
Did-
Oh, you sent
did-
it today?
you sent-
No, Dan sent
I
it.
sent an updated one this evening
Oh,
here.
yeah.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah. we could
Yeah.
just make sure to get that one. You can't, the
Yeah.
data
Yeah,
is hard
you
to
can't
read.
make it out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It is hard to take that. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, Dan, thank you.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks so much for your time.
You're great.
That's great. All right. Moving on, is there any new business? We're gonna try to do, yeah, any new business?
Yes.
Yes.
So the finance committee, should I read out the motion or?
Just give a little background and then we can go forward.
So the rolling average ad hoc committee discussed rolling averages in a few meetings prior to finance, which was held today. And so we discussed that finance rolling averages. So a little background. There is a state statute that allows for regional school districts, towns, to agree to potentially do rolling averages for the budget. So what that would do is that would extend the student population estimates out over years to sort of flatten the increases or decreases per town. What we have seen a lot in the last few years is that there's always a town in the barrel. And that is a strong consideration we must make in terms of what budget we pass. So if that impact was sort of flattened out over the years, then we would have different budget considerations that we could make and maybe a little more wiggle room. The motion at finance was to have a discussion here at the board and just sort of discuss the idea and potentially have an agreement of moving forward.
So maybe if you make the motion,
Yeah.
then we can discuss that. Yeah.
Oh, so make the
Yeah,
motion.
yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. So motion to recommend to, well, not this motion. Well, the motion was to recommend that the board ad hoc committee, rolling average committee be allowed to engage with district towns about the possibility of pursuing a rolling average with the State Board of Education. So.
I'll second it so we can discuss.
Perfect. Then maybe fix
Right. Yeah, go ahead.
the wording.
Yeah, the wording, yeah. Sorry about that.
That's good.
I was multitasking.
That's good.
Discussion. I'll just say that at this point, there's a whole lot of things that have to happen for this to actually have an impact on the budget for next year. And so what we would want the board to do is generally agree that we should have the superintendent and Finance Committee or whoever is involved in this, go ahead and begin to actively pursue what are the steps that need to happen and engage the Wellington and Ashford and Mansfield in a discussion that would basically guide us on whether we're going to go forward with this or not. And go ahead, Suze.
We believe that in Wellington and Ashford, not sure about Mansfield, we would need to have a vote on this, or a referendum vote. And I guess based on earlier discussion, it sounds like it would be nice to do it in May.
If we could do it, so it would be fabulous. But we just felt like we need the whole board to understand that we want to move forward to explore this as a new way of funding the regional school district's budget to essentially lessen the impact on Wellington and Ashford, but spread the load out over time. Tim, you're our expert.
Let me take a crack a little bit. So some of what is new that I don't know was gotten to the board level is identification of sort of the path, right? Initially, we thought it was going to have to be a legislative action to change the statute, right? We're like, oh my God, it's never going to happen, right? So what was discovered, I think really if you're talking to other districts, was identifying that it can be enabled through State Board of Ed exemption based on memorandum of understanding amongst the district towns, right? So now we're kind of backing up in the path. So each town would have their own legislative action, referendum, or whatever that town wants to do. And so again, we're sort of working our way to say, okay, we got to engage the officials in each of the towns. So this really is about beginning that process to say, okay, let's engage those officials. We'll bring them a uniform description of how we envision this happening. Maybe a framework of what the memorandum might look like, so they know kind of what they're setting up for. And if, we've gotten casual alignment, agreement, interest, we'll call it, from the towns who sort of vetted them. Of course, this is going to be a next step up to say, okay, now this is the mechanism that we're looking for. And so really it's to say, okay, allowing the board and the committee to kind of initiate those interactions, engage our lawyers to draft the referendum and start to get some of the mechanisms in place such that we can move towards the execution of the memorandum amongst the three district towns only, because they're the ones that levy applies to. And then that memorandum along with the letter would go to the State Board of Education for their approval, and then we'd be off and running at that point. So that's sort of that's the path that's been identified, and we've got some clarity on that. We'll move that into it. In terms of the execution, what is being floated currently is mathematical average of prior years. So October 1st enrollment is sort of the standard, right? From the previous year, we would propose that the 3 prior years be used. That's a starting point. We'll see where that number ends up, but that's where we are today. And so we'd be using the same data. We're not using projected data. We're using the same data that we had used, just simply including the 3 prior years in a mathematical average that then would be used for the levy. And so that's, kind of a summary of what we're looking to pursue, with that, and it being just simply less year-to-year volatility for especially the smaller towns that see more volatility in that, and having to them to make drastic cuts or not from year to year, and hard to manage those budgets.
You go ahead. Oh, I just clarifying question. So this wouldn't overall lessen the pain of Ashford and Wellington. It would just lessen the fluctuation and the drastic swings back and forth,
Correct.
Right?
The
so
end game for all the towns
would be the same. It would just be spread out of over 3 years as opposed to hitting in 1 year back and forth.
Right. So not making a cut and then trying to rehire that teacher when next year, and whatever it might be. So that's the intention, simply better planning, less volatility, same end result on average.
Just when we were discussing this in our ad hoc committee, we thought it would be best for people not to really share this until, we have our ducks in a row and then we present it. Sharon would be talking to the leaders of the different towns so it would be really, you know how it's so easy for people to misunderstand each other. Like, what is this meaning? That's all.
Cat's out of the bag.
On live stream.
Cat's out of the bag.
The cat's out of the bag and the interest is high. And we just felt like we needed to get everybody on the board, saying that, yeah, let's go ahead and see if we can pull this off. Sharon has done yeoman's work in talking to districts that have done this and looking at other districts who want to do it.
Yeah.
Regional school district funding is just inherently inequitable with the way it's been done. So I think this rolling average idea is going to end up being the way regional school districts do business.
And just point of clarification, I mean, this is not something that's just happened in the last couple of years. It's been going on as long as I've been on the board.
And having this
some
conversation.
former, director of finance with Mansfield that was working for the board 20 years ago was floating this idea and trying to get people on board at that particular point in time. So these fluctuations have been going on for a long time. And yeah, I mean, Ashford and Willington will continue to fluctuate, but maybe the fluctuation will be 2.5% to 3 to 5% rather than 2.5% to 7 or 10% or 18%. So that makes a big difference.
I was just gonna point out that there is no, you used the word equity. There really is no equity aspect to this. It's simply a reduction in volatility. So I think we have to be careful with those words. There's no redistribution, there's no change. It is simply reducing volatility. It will be the same over time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then just from a Mansfield perspective, in the end, every town is going to pay the same amount. But from Mansfield, we may not be in the barrel from year to year, but the reduction in resources, that volatility that Tim is talking about, we feel. So if there's a spike in increase in one town, that impacts the overall budget. So in the end, we're all going to be paying the same. It's just a matter of, do we have consistency and overall, the trajectory goes up, or are we going to have to make decisions year to year that maybe aren't reflective of people?
Right, hopefully it enables more rational planning.
Yes. Right.
It's about being able to plan, spreading the load out over time so that districts have some sense of what's going to happen year to year.
Talking about people and teachers and budgets and those things don't swing in the way that our enrollment swings, right? So there needs more rational.
Oh, I was just ready to vote.
Okay.
I can call the question, but
Yeah.
I think the simplest way is just a motion to allow the ad hoc committee to engage district towns in conversation around rolling average.
I thought you had the motion.
Yeah.
And it was seconded.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, I'll read it out again. Not mess it up this time. How's that? So the motion is that the ad hoc rolling average committee be allowed to engage with district towns about the possibility of pursuing a rolling average with the State Board of Education.
As a way of funding the school district budget.
Yeah.
As a way of funding. Beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
All right.
Yeah, that was seconded by Janice.
Seconded by Jim. All right. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Arthur, is your hand up?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, then let's do this.
All right.
Let's do this. Yeah, there's a lot of steps in between, and because we have heard, because Ashford became aware of it, their first selectman is chomping at the bit. So we're hoping Willington will also be chomping at the bit to kind of find a way to make this less painful for all the districts. Now, this is exciting.
I had one question. I know we discussed, being careful with our terms and how we describe this. Can you tell us basically, the cat is out of the bag. Would you like to give a little guidance on?
Yeah, well, Tim and I have talked about preparing a document with consistent language about what this means.
Okay.
And then everybody can have access to that so that in your roles as representing your various communities, you'll have the same language. We won't all be speaking the same language, so.
That's a good point. As we wrap that up in preparation for discussions with the town officials, that same thing would be.
We'll keep everybody, yeah, but we need to, it's such an awkward economic thing for people who are not number people, that it's important to have a document that we can say, this is what it means, this is what it reads. And then you're in a better position to talk to other people in your town about that. And we'll work on that right away within the next 2 weeks, right away. Yeah. I don't think so. Yeah, so we're just talking about whether we have another committee meeting. We're going to need one, and then we'll finish the language on that. Thank you for your support on that. We have high hopes that we might be able to actually enact this pretty quickly. Okay. All right. Any other new business?
Yes.
Tony.
To raise. This is really just a communication and a potential opportunity with some glitches I think we have to address. I was contacted late last week by Paul Brody, who was a longtime member of this board from 1987 to 2003. So. And he's been involved for the last 25 years in an organization that's called Mankind, which was originally set up to engage men in issues of importance in.
It was basically getting men talk to each other in a way that maybe women do more naturally, but about issues that pertain to being a man in our society at this time. Paul was a leader, and maybe still is in that organization.
And they
helped a lot of men.
They have since expanded and have brought a wider focus. And the reason he called me is because one of the initiatives they're pursuing right now is a training around the issues, or it's titled Unpacking Power, Privilege, and Difference. It's basically, he characterized it as a diversity, equity, and inclusion type of training. He apologized for the fact that there is a live training at Camp Woodstock, but it's coming up in 2 weeks, and it's a Friday through Sunday, so it's a pretty big commitment.
You stay there.
You stay there from Friday night to Sunday afternoon, it comes with a cost to institutions of $500 per participant. So if we were going to pursue, now this is this one. They also do a number of online that are spread out over 8 weeks, once a week, covering a lot of the same issues, but doing it as an online. And I don't know what the cost of those would be. I indicated to him that I would bring it to the board to determine if we have any interest. I don't know if we even have the ability. He said they still have a couple of openings for the one in a couple of weeks. I'm going to be out of state during that period of time. And the issue of the cost is something I don't know whether we could even cover.
Is it just for men or is it?
It's for anybody. You have to be 18. That's the cutoff.
Yeah. No, this is part of their expanded. They're now doing.
It was just for men. That's why. No. That's how Paul got started and stuff like this. But no, he also mentioned this to me at a function that I saw him at recently. Sounds very exciting, but it is in just a couple of weeks.
And again, but I do think that I was. I said, I would bring it. I said, I didn't think it would likely that we'd be able to get anybody to this session, given it's a whole weekend commitment. It's 2 weeks from now. There's cost involved. We'd have to figure out how we want to fund that. He also sent this material to Lou, and you may, because they were thinking. He said that we've done this in other places, and we recognized that a lot of the participants were coming from school systems. They were teachers, administrators. So he said, "I'm sorry, I didn't think about it," but all of a sudden they went. Duh.
My own high school.
Yeah.
So I do have a one-page flyer which has a link to. At the bottom, you can a website which gives more information. If anybody's interested, I can get back to him and say, look, I don't think this one's gonna work, but we would like, I can put myself on a list of alerts for when other trainings are coming up. We have a little bit more time, and we can discuss how, we wanted to send people how whether it's budgetary funds that we could use. And I could bring that back. And he's also willing, and this might be something where he could either come to the full board or to the EDJ committee and make a presentation to maybe the best to start at the EDJ committee. And just talk to us about what they're doing, what they're up to. And if there's opportunities here that we could tap into some potential training opportunities that might be useful. So my proposal would be that I get back to him. I mean, unless there's a strong feeling that somebody wants to participate.
Fun weekend in Woodstock coming up in 2 weeks.
Otherwise, I would just, I would say, look, we're interested. I'd like to have you come into the EDJ committee. We could either do it as a Zoom meeting, or he said he'd be willing to come in to a meeting and talk to us and make a presentation for the kind of this program and their future ones. And so that's basically it. So I just want to get a sense that the board is open to that.
I was just looking at their website, and it looks like there's the New Warrior Training Adventure, the Mankind Project Men's Group. And I'm just going to say that at this particular moment, I'm really myself pretty hesitant to spend any kind of school funds to kind of support the development of the New Warrior. I think we have a lot of that.
Yeah.
Just kind of overall.
This you might want to take a look at this is sort of a subgroup from that, and this is more, and they have a separate website, which is if you want to look it up, I'll just give you this.
I'm just sharing. This is just a sharing.
No, and this is just, I think, he wants to come and as a long time, I think, well, this is where you'll find more information on this particular program.
I just was finding this, and I'm just I'm wondering who funds them. It's a little bit mysterious, but the New Warrior Training Adventure, I mean, I know that that's not what we're actually would attend, because I don't think they're looking for me to be the New Warrior. I think I might be on the other side. I might be who they're warring against. But and because of that, I think that there's this funding that we could spend certainly around thinking about communities of color and like things that are issues here beyond kind of healing men. So I'm just going to say
we
that.
have shared.
Do they do anything for the community?
We don't know any more about it. We just shared what we were.
He just contacted me.
Okay.
Sarah, anybody else want to just take a look at the flyer?
Yasmin, thank you.
Yeah. Hand it over.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming,
Just got
guys.
some down here. I got- And there is that web link at the bottom is.
If we haven't adjourned yet.
You're close to it.
This is a courtesy sharing, so we didn't intend to be acting on it.
You're good.
All right. Thank you. Are any other discussion items for tonight? Any other discussion items for tonight? Do we need to do Okay, all right. All right, so you're the public over there. Do you want an opportunity to speak?
Don't let them say.
Any other public that we're not aware of? We welcome it. So we want more public.
Thank you, Andy, for coming.
Thank you for coming in. Thank you. All right. Initiated by Arthur not too many years ago as an opportunity for board members to say anything for the good of the order that they want to say. Peace on earth.
Joy to all.
Joy to all. Yeah. Any 2 cents worth. I'll just say that it's a pleasure to be working with all of you, and I look forward to this next year. We have a lot of work to do to fund this school and pay for everything and support our personnel and all of the above. But I do believe this is the body of people who can do it. So I'm honored to be with you.
I do actually just want to say, so for our new folks or for our folks who are kind of quasi-new, it was really helpful, I think, with us, Nick, last year when we sat down. The budget is a monster and I'm saying out loud, but I'm knocking on wood right now. We're in the really beginning stages of putting the rudimentary budget together, but we're in a little bit of a better place than we were last year. We are starting with 11%, which is great. We are lower than that, but there's still going to be difficult decisions that we have to make. But I do want to offer, if you want to come in and sit down and go through the budget and like look at what it means and talk about the lines and what they actually need, because sitting and going through that with Nick, I think was really helpful. We had fun. We did. We laughed, we cried. It was fabulous. But you know, just give a call and make an appointment. And you know, we did. I think we sat for like an hour and just kind of went through what the line items, what they need, and you know, I'm really happy to do that.
Last year we had talked about having like workshops, like more interactive with like
it's scheduled in.
Yeah, or even more than one. I remember having a conversation, like everything just felt so formal.
So one of the things, they were always kind of like that. So they really are intended to be interactive. So one of the things that I would really suggest is when the budget book comes out, you know, going through it, I think what ends up happening and what really did happen last year was by the time people wrapped their brains around the budget and the questions really started to come, it was the last meeting. And so we had to vote on a budget. And that's when really some of the hard questions will come in hard and fast. So really, that's why like knowing and understanding what each of the, you know, what the budget lines are and knowing what they mean. And so even when I do the first like that first presentation is like that broad view, but having, you know, going through the budget ahead of time and knowing like what you know and what you don't know, what you understand and what you don't, allows us to have that exchange. So every single meeting really should be a Q&A exchange of those line items that you don't understand. We don't generally go through every single budget line item line by line. Districts who do that, that's when you're doing Saturdays. You're planning Saturday board meetings and you are going line by. That's when I would have probably every department head come and present every line item of their budget. It's a nightmare for everybody, for you, for them. But I think for us, I would be more than happy for every single one of our budget meetings to be a dialogue, give and take. Like I can present any changes that happen. I don't think they're going to be as intense as they were last year, as far as drastic changes. So I would love for every single one of our meetings, and they should be public, and the public should get to hear what every single, you know, change we're making. They should get to hear those. So I'm really happy to take any and all questions at every single meeting.
Okay. I just remember we talked about having almost more dynamic meetings where we could say, all right, what if we, you know, we did less of this? What would that mean to our overall number? So,
and sometimes that's harder to get to. When Amanda's here and she has her, she has the computer up, she can stick a number in and she can calculate that way.
She's really helpful.
That's where like for me doing the scenarios, that's when I had all of those pages because I would do the calculations ahead of time. But for her, she can plug a number in and pop a number up. So whether she's here in person or whether she's here online, she's really able to do that. And so I think that that's a great idea.
Sure. And one second. So no one on the board is expected to take a look at every single line. We have to trust the superintendent and our finance director to know what's in each of those broader areas. That doesn't mean you can't ask what is a blank in this particular budget and understand more about what that is. Our job, though, is if we have to cut, then we have to be able to provide information to them about what our priorities are so they can go back and take a look at the numbers and make adjustments that work for each department or each unit of the building. But we would not be expected that we would go, well, what's this line that says pencils? Well, I think we should take that out. That's not our job. Our job is basically to understand and you're welcome to read every single line I'll admit, I have never, ever done that, but we used to have a board, Herb Erico, he read every single line. And God bless him, he always supported our budget. But he did read them all.
He asked the hard question.
He asked the hard questions, but yeah. And you should feel comfortable being able to support whatever we do, so. Get your questions.
Sit next to Janice. Our Tony is really good because I know you get the ones, unless I was bugging you, but I would say, Tony, why is this significant?
Tony reads the whole budget too.
You know, Arthur, like you said,
Arthur probably reads the whole budget.
you're looking at the lines. I don't want to read the whole budget, but I want to know why something is.
Right. Right.
In numbers, it would help me with the numbers.
Yeah.
I don't have pillows.
Yeah.
I just have.
All
a
right.
budget. That's.
Any other comments to be made before you? Yeah.
It's very helpful to be one-on-one with Sharon. She answered probably like 80% of my questions within that meeting, and it saved me from having to go through, probably a longer list at a public meeting so that we can get to really, because sometimes there's some really good things to bring up when the whole group is here. A lot of it's just me being me that the rest of you probably don't need to agree because I'm just confused.
No, I appreciate.
That's good advice.
And they were great.
Thank you.
There's a lot of stuff that I really am going, are you kidding? I'm kidding. But when you bring up something, it's like when Tony helped me to understand, like, oh, okay, I better be aware of what at this line and these headings, because this means a lot. So like you said tonight, I appreciate everything we all bring, I learned a lot from you. Everybody on here. I know I sound like they're getting along again. I'm sorry about that. That's just who I am. And you learn so much from everybody. We all bring different skills. And I think we're a good group. I really do.
Thanks, Sarah. All right. All I need now is a motion to adjourn. Sarah, Nick seconded.
I have a gentleman coming to get me.
Okay, good. All in favor of adjourning, say aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? Anybody want to stay? All right. Thank you.